quiet here this morning for some reason. Yeah. All right. So where are we at? Does everybody know?
Proverbs 11.
Nobody screaming church or anything? We are on Proverbs 11. But as always, we will recap 10. Both of these are pretty long, so I'm going to try to go through the recap a little bit quick. But we are now entering into the Proverbs of Solomon. He didn't write all the Proverbs. I don't even know 100% if he wrote these. However, these were either written by him or from his, followers, his council people who just took the wisdom from him. And they call this the Proverbs of Solomon. So the Proverbs of Solomon: a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. And you can think of a lot of different examples for this, but ultimately, when it comes to sons, you want to make your dad proud. You're the one, back in these days especially, that's going to carry on the bloodline. You're the one that's going to inherit all the land, all the responsibilities. But if you aren't worthy of that, if you're silly, if you're going around and causing a lot of problems and just really acting like you don't care, your dad's probably not going to want to leave that to you, but your mom will always care about you. It's a mother's job, and you're hanging around with the bad crowd and all that. You will stress your mom out a lot more than your dad, because your dad's a little bit tougher on sons than mothers are. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. So if you are seeking spirituality, to get closer to Jesus, get closer to God, you will find it. Even if you're poor and hungry on the street, God's not going to leave you famished from him, from his word, from feeling close to him. However, he casteth away the substance of the wicked. And when you think about wicked substances, when you consume them, the more you consume, the more you need to consume to get the same feeling, and so on, till ultimately you can have all the money, fame, drugs, alcohol, etc. that you want, and you'll always feel empty with that. You can never get enough because it just doesn't do the trick anymore. The substance of the wicked will be cast away. Already. We're having a lot of technical difficulties with PowerPoint lately. Did you open it?
It's open now.
Stand by, everybody.
Yeah, when you hit that clicker, it changes on the It changes when you hit the clicker. You gotta open it. Recap. John, where you at?
Anyway, Sean, if you're listening. So he becometh poor that dealeth with the slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. So can you imagine your whole family, all the workers are out there working, and then the one son who's going to inherit it all, he just goes in and goes to bed. All the workers, all of everybody's going to be like, please don't leave this to this guy. He's just going to run into the ground. And this is our livelihoods too. This is our job. But he that gathereth in the summer is the wise son. He that sleepeth in the harvest is a son that causeth shame. Nobody, no father is proud of how, lazy or sleepy their children would be. So, blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. And I use the example from Red Dead Redemption 2, kind of modern, but ultimately, it's how do you want to be remembered? There are a lot of these great preachers that are going around that had significant impacts on the world that we still know their names today. And then you have people like Hitler, Mao Zedong, and all these people, nobody really cares. They're kind of happy that they're dead. And speaking of happy that they're dead, we'll get into that a little bit in Proverbs 11 today. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. And he that winketh with the eye causeth sorrow, but a prating fool shall fall. Twice it says the same thing, but a prating fool shall fall. And ultimately that just, in today's terms, would mean a bumbling idiot. Somebody that just talks and someone who just rambles and says things that are just make everybody like, oh, okay, what is this guy talking about? And he that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. There's a lot of preachers and stuff too that would kind of just get up there. I guess ear tickle is the term that's being used for right now. And then something will come out like, oh, this guy has also been doing some very bad things behind the scenes. And then once they're finally exposed, I mean, you see it all the time, like you got the Catholic churches and even some, a lot of Protestant churches and everything. They have preachers, when they die or quit or something horrible eventually will come out about them that they've been doing this entire time while people are thinking they're super holy, super righteous people without knowing. But this is saying, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. It will come to the light if you are out doing bad stuff and trying to keep that covered up in the name of God. All sin will be brought to the light, so to speak. The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. Hatred stirreth up strife, but love covereth all sins. In the lips of him that understand wisdom is found. In the lips of him that hath understanding wisdom is found. But a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Wise men lay up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. So love covereth all sins. When you think about it, if you're mad at somebody and you're about to go do something bad to them, you stop. Maybe it's not your love for them that stops it, but it's you remember how you've done a lot of bad things and Jesus still loves you and you wouldn't want to be punished for it. So maybe I shouldn't go out and punish this guy because that's kind of what we're supposed to do. Love will cover all sins if you put that first. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their poverty. Remember, that one was tricky to read, but it's still talking about the rich man here. His wealth is a strong city, and the destruction of his poor is going to be his poverty. If you go around and make everybody poor so you can get rich, now the poor are mad at you. So if somebody comes along and they're like, where is this rich guy? We're going to take it over. The poor people are going to have no problem with that. They're going to be like, well, he's right up there in the palace. There's a secret door in the back. Go get him. So ultimately, that's going to be the weakness no matter how strong your walls are. The labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruit of the wicked to sin. He is in the way of life that keepeth instruction, but he that refuseth reproof erreth. So if there are things you can be doing better, if some people have found better ways to do things, you should listen to them because they've already went through what you're going through now and made it out of it, and they're trying to help you with how they made it out. If you say, no, I'm doing it my way no matter what, in every situation, well, you kind of err, and you're going to make a lot of problems too. Maybe one day you'll be trying to help somebody. Hope they listen to you. He that hideth hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. The tongue of the just is as choice silver, the heart of the wicked is little worth. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for want of wisdom. Don't slander people. I think we should all know that. Don't go and slander it. If you do have some bad things to say about somebody, what's that saying? If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. It's kind of what it says right here. But he that refraineth his lips is wise, even if you're being slandered against, even if all these other things. Again, in Proverbs 11, we'll get to it. If somebody tries to slander you and talk bad about you, and you haven't done anything, it'll become known that you haven't done anything. And ultimately, they're the ones that's going to look silly for trying to talk bad about you. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. It is as sport to a fool to do mischief, but a man of understanding hath wisdom. The fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him, but the desire of the righteous shall be granted. As the whirlwind passeth, so is the wicked no more, but the righteous is an everlasting fountain. Everlasting fountain. So the blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich and addeth no sorrow with it. Think about how many rich people, rich people, how do they get there? Probably by making a lot of other people mad or sad or a lot of other these different things. And they got to go to bed with that at night. And that's why some of them seem to be disconnected with the world, because they have to bury so much stuff now that really all they can focus on is what they have done and how they got the money in the first place and how to keep it going. But think about kings back in the day. If you stole a kingship or a kingdom, now you have these other people who are going to want that kingdom also. So sure, you got all this kingdom and all these riches and power, but at any moment someone's going to want that kingdom and riches and power, and they're going to come take it from you by killing you. Happened all the time back in the day. So, but the blessing of the Lord maketh rich, and it addeth no sorrow with it. It's kind of the only free riches in the world that you can get is from God, and that's why they are better. They're not measured in gold, silver, jewels, or anything like that, but they're measured in peace and just how you feel on the inside. If you can go to sleep homeless and be rejoicing and have God with you, that's a lot better than going to sleep in your third mansion or on your fifth jet plane and just hating your life and not wanting to wake back up. And it happens a lot more than you think. As vinegar to the teeth and as smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. Think about if you have somebody working for you. Has anybody ever worked with somebody that just wasn't really good at their job or didn't really care with you, and so you ended up having to do a little bit more of the labor than you should to kind of make up for what they're doing? Nobody likes that person. Nobody would really like, we got to cover the slack for this guy. Well, imagine if you're the boss and you send these people to do something and then they take forever, and then you get there and the job's done horribly anyway. It's kind of what it's talking about here. You're as vinegar to the teeth, which is like that burn, a little steam. I'd imagine vinegar is probably a little more stout back then. And as smoke to the eyes. Who likes getting smoke in their eyes? Nobody, right? That's how the same feeling. You're not going to die. It's just an annoyance, a nuisance. The fear of the Lord prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. The hope of the righteous shall be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. The hope of righteousness shall be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. We get into that a little bit in Proverbs 11 too, but what do they expect? What do you think all these evil people expect to happen? They're just going to be super rich forever and control the world, and that's just how it's going to be forever? Oh, we're going to control the world and live happily ever after. Who's going to control the world? Well, this guy. But then you're going to have the same problems you had with kings and kingdoms. Somebody else is going to want the world, so they're going to try to come kill that person. Somebody else is seeing all that and likes it too, so they're going to want to come. There will never be really peace in that. No peace is going to come with world conquering. So what is the expectation? Doesn't matter anyway, because it's going to perish. But we have hope of righteousness and gladness, as we know when it gets to that point and everything's going crazy. If we die, whatever, and if we don't, we know something's coming anyway. Something bigger and better. The way of the Lord is strength to the upright, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. The righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. You can take that one however you want to, but I know how I would take it. The righteous shall never be removed. So sure, you might die, but ultimately you'll be back if you die in Christ. And the wicked will also die right there along with everyone else. This right here says they're not coming back to the earth to rule with that. So, however you want to view it, I know my stance on it. The mouth of the just bringeth forth wisdom, but the forward tongue shall be cut out. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked speaketh frowardness. And frowardness just means troublemaking. You go around just saying things, no thought to them, trying to invoke reactions from a lot of people. All right, that was a quick recap of Proverbs 10. Let's move into 11. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Another abomination. So why would God hate, even to the point of it being an abomination to him, a false balance? What is a false balance?
It's hard to explain. They make it look, they rig it to where they don't have to give you so much money for what to make the scales not weigh as much.
Yeah. So probably back in these days, in Solomon's times, there wasn't necessarily an established regional, currency, a coin currency or anything. They had jewels and silver and gold, of course, that they exchanged for goods, but they went off of weight, not just here, this is worth this much. They would go off of the weight of gold for different things, and different things had different values to the different weight of gold. And so they would rig these scales, like Eric was saying, in one sense, to where it looked flat, but then when you put it on, you take a lot more gold to lift up to whatever that may be. But also, think about the beginning of John again. And I know I use this example a lot, but it makes so much sense. You understand this, a lot of the Bible clicks right in. Logos, I've told that before. And Logos is just logic, order, and reason. God loves logic, order, and reason. If you have a hole that's a circle, and you think of like the baby toys, and then a circle drops in it, God loves that kind of stuff because that's logic. 1 + 1 = 2. Yes, that's how God set it up. Man and woman, make children, multiply. Yes, that's how God set it up. Plant seed in dirt, water, nutrients. The plant grows, makes more seeds. God loves that stuff. If this right here doesn't tip over with that huge rock, because of that rock, God hates that. Because that is not logic. That is not order. There's something weird going on there. You defy the logic in the Logos when you do falseness in a false balance. God likes equality, equal balances, logic and order. But a just weight is his delight. So some people, although 1 million people be against it, they can have a little bit of money and their opinion automatically wins because they have more money. That is kind of a false balance that can be applied in modern times. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. So let's pick that one apart a little bit. When pride cometh, then cometh shame. Oh, not that pride, sorry. Nope. Sorry. Yeah. Conor McGregor. Does anybody know him? He's a good example. Well, he's a UFC fighter, fights MMA and everything, and I just gotta use what I know to make this example better. But this is a tale as old as time when it comes to sports and fighting and everything. Conor McGregor, he's a dude from Ireland, right? He started fighting, humble beginnings, he wasn't born rich into a family, got a job, decided it wasn't for him, just started fighting all the time. Worked really hard, eventually won the UFC title, which is the highest one you can win. Then he went on and won 2 titles. The first person to ever do that. He won it in 2 different weight classes, at 155 pounds and one's 45 pounds. So he was just beating everybody. Everybody was amazing. He became a superstar. Amazing, like millions and millions and millions of dollars, multi-millionaire, maybe even close to $1 billion at this point. So once he got up to that point, he changed a little bit. Started going to the ring, being all proud of himself, taking pictures with money, his yachts, his planes, his cars, and all of that. And then what started happening to old Conor? Started getting beat up all the time, and he can't win anything. So he started losing his fights. Why is that? Because the pride blinded him of what it took to get to where he was in the first place. And understandably, it's probably hard. Like I think Oscar De La Hoya said, it's hard to wake up and go get punched in the face when you wake up with silk sheets in a mansion and millions of dollars in your bank account. You're not hungry anymore like those guys are on the street to go with it. So ultimately his pride kind of became his downfall. When pride cometh shame. Because now, think about it. Your whole thing was you were knocking everybody out to get you to the top. If now you can't win a fight, nobody cares about your jets anymore. Nobody cares about your cruise ships. Nobody cares about your cars and everything. They're going to be like, well, you sold out. You lost all this, and now you just lose all the time. So it kind of loses your interest. So he is in a spot. I would hate to be this guy right now. Because if he doesn't start winning again soon, it's all over for him. So when pride cometh, then cometh shame. But with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them. Here's another example. This is a new guy, it's Brandon. He's the 135 champion right now, I think. And he, right off the bat, he was kind of good, but he started losing. In 2018, eventually was just cut from the UFC. Like, hey, you're good, but you're not UFC good. So he was heartbroken, but he was like, no, this is what I want to do in life. This is what I need to do. So he buckled down, and he focused, and he kept training harder and harder. And eventually he started winning, came back into the UFC, beat a couple big guys in the UFC, and just last month, I think, or this month, became the UFC champion. Everybody's like, what an amazing story. This guy didn't just come out of nowhere. This guy got beat all the way down, kicked out, and then came back because he didn't quit and he didn't give up. So now he's like one of the favorite UFC champions of all time, even though he's a little guy, just because of his stories, because of his heart, because he kept going and never quit with it. And this is him. This is really hard to convince people this is a UFC champion of the world when his room's just full of Legos and those little big head toys and stuff like that. But what can you say? He goes in, he beats people up, and then goes and buys Lego collection. So, hey, it's what it is, I guess. But yeah, a much better story. He's not flashing around his jets. He's not flashing around cars and all that. He was from Tijuana, Mexico. And when he was a little kid, found an incomplete little Lego toy. That was his favorite toy ever, but he couldn't afford to buy more Legos. So he just played with that one all the time. He said, if I ever get money, I'm going to get all the Legos I want. Now he's an adult, he's a champion, and he's building a huge collection. Millionaire overnight, just from his heart. So when pride cometh, then cometh shame. But with the lowly is wisdom. When you get beat down at the bottom, you're going to get smarter about it. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. That's just two real-life examples of pride and what it can do. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. The righteous of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. The righteous of the upright shall deliver them, but transgressors shall be taken in their own naughtiness. And this is just saying, when that day comes and wrath is poured out, you did it to yourself. If you're being punished, if you're being destroyed, it's your own wickedness that did it to you. If you're dying and if nothing's working out for you the way you planned, it's your own transgressions that are going to be taken by your own naughtiness. So God is not a respecter of persons. He's a respecter of what you did. And if you went around not respecting other persons, well, his turn when it comes to that point. Riches profit not in the day of wrath. Do you imagine like the wrath being poured out and some dude's like, I'll give you $1 billion if you don't destroy me and my family. You imagine how little that means to God or any of the angels or anybody in heaven. Like, did you really just offer us money, that like paper stuff? No, that's not how we work up here, big guy. So, when a wicked man dieth, his expectation shall perish. There we go with that again. Remember Proverbs 10? And the hope of the unjust men perisheth. The righteous is delivered out of trouble, and the wicked cometh in his stead. So, let's think about all these wicked people back in Noah's day. Built this city. I'd imagine, I don't know if it was Sodom and Gomorrah level bad, but it was pretty bad, or God wouldn't be like, okay, I'm about to just take it all out. We're kind of going to do a restart here. So, when it comes to God and the expectation of the wicked, who do you think is going to win? A first civilization full of everybody on earth, or one family in a boat? One family in a boat is definitely going to win because you forgot to apply the God to it. So hope of the unjust, you might as well not even have it because ultimately you don't have an end goal. Like you have maybe, well, I hope for this big promotion, or I hope for another jet, or to be able to make this real estate deal. But ultimately, after you get that, you're not going to be satisfied. You're going to be looking for the next deal too. So the hope of the unjust perisheth, but the righteous is delivered out of trouble, and the wicked cometh in his stead. A hypocrite with his mouth destroyeth his neighbor. Here we are talking about this again. But through knowledge shall the just be delivered. So if somebody's talking about you, a hypocrite with his mouth destroyeth his neighbor. If I'm Nate's neighbor, and I'm like, that old woman, she's all the time cussing and going around and yelling at people and throwing rocks at cars when they drive by and all this. And then she wants to say she goes to church. She probably goes to a Catholic church. This old woman, just different things like that. But then you're like, no, I don't. And they follow you here. And then somebody starts spying on you. And then you don't do any of that. And they're like, man, that person said they were throwing rocks at cars and we were going to get her in trouble. But I don't see her throwing rocks at cars. She's just taking zucchini bread to her other neighbors and stuff. She seems nice to me. Well, they just got exposed by trying to slander it. So, through knowledge shall the just be delivered. When it goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoiceth. And when the wicked perisheth, there is shouting. So, think about occupations. Think about during World War II when these cities were occupied and just people busting up in your houses, taking all your food, taking everything they had. You had to meet in the street at certain times and go to work all day for them and then go back. They were just treated horribly. And then somebody comes in and runs them all out and kills the leader. Those people are going to be happy. They're shouting like, yes, finally get these people out of here. And that's what this is talking about. When it goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoiceth. You got a good leader, a good king, good mayor, good governor, whatever, and he's making everything awesome for you and looking out for you. Awesome. Everything is perfect. You cannot ask, you shouldn't underappreciate a really good leader, a really intelligent leader. But if you're not a good leader and you die, everybody's going to be so happy that you died. And this is even biblical. They're allowed to rejoice. By the blessings of the upright, the city is exalted, but it is overthrown by the mouth of the wicked. So, he that is void of wisdom despiseth his neighbor, but a man of understanding holdeth his peace. So, just almost identical to what we read in Proverbs 10 there. But let's take Rome, for example. Rome, Greece, any of those back in the day. The blessings of the upright, the city is exalted. So they had this massive city, Rome. I mean, I'm still even talking about it today. I'm talking about it in a Sunday school class thousands of years later. It was under good leadership, unstoppable. Everybody was prospering. Everybody was, happy, making a lot of money, spreading all over the world. I don't know if you can necessarily call that a good thing, but they were conquering and expanding. But then they had the Senate, and the Senate was always working their evil, twisting, making new laws, making new rules, and eventually usurping power from these good leaders, giving it to evil men, and from their mouths, Rome eventually fell. They just make all these laws, bring in all these other different ideas and cultures and all that, and mesh them together until nothing can stand anymore because there are no pillars. Not only are there just not 7, there's not any pillars in this place. And then it falls. And this is the same thing that's warning about here. Maybe they should have read the Bible or some Solomon. But a talebearer revealeth secrets, but he that is of faithful spirit concealeth the matter. Don't go around tattletelling people. But if you know something that can really cause a lot of damage, maybe don't go out spreading that to everybody unless you can keep it a little bit controlled. That's God's place. Where no counsel is, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety. So I know I just badmouthed the Senate, but that was an evil Senate. This is not necessarily talking about a government of counsel. So let's talk about here. Let's say we wanted to do something for the church. We would need a lot of different people's opinions. If you guys just came in one day and all the walls are painted pink, and Eric's like, yeah, I just wanted to paint all the walls pink. I'm like, dang, I wish you would have asked somebody first. We told you that was a horrible idea and you shouldn't do that. So kind of a council is to bounce ideas off of each other. Not necessarily a vote or anything, but just so we all can get in the same idea and we can all be thinking about it to make it the best possible outcomes. This was the tongue twister. I had to look up a lot of Hebrew for this one. He that is surety for a stranger shall smart for it, and he that hateth suretyship is sure. I was like, oh, okay, I have no idea what that means. And you wouldn't know what that means from modern English. You did have to resort to Hebrew for this. So he that is surety for a stranger. Let's stop there. Surety for a stranger. So let's say I want to buy Nada's car. I'm like, Nada, I'm gonna buy this car from you. And as surety, if I don't pay it, Gary's going to, but I'll still get it. Think of a co-signer. Co-signer for loan. That's what that is. Surety. So he that is surety for a stranger. So if you imagine somebody just calls you up, you didn't know him, like, hey, what's up, Gary? And you're like, who are you? Like, oh, I'm Tom. Listen, I'm about to buy this house and I need you to co-sign for me. Would you co-sign for them? Exactly, but I don't even know who you are, Tom. But he that is surety for a stranger shall smart for it. Now, what does smart mean in this case? So smart means to suffer evil and to receive injury. So if you co-sign for a stranger, you're going to pay for it. That was your bad move. You're ultimately going to suffer for that. And he that hateth suretyship is sure. So if you hate, he who hates suretyship lives securely, has no cause of fear. So if I am not going to lend you any loan and I'm not co-signing for anybody, my life is fine because I am sure. Because there's nothing not to be sure about because I didn't co-sign for anybody. And this is just saying, don't be a co-signer for strangers. It's just going to hurt you. Don't put up an oath. Not just necessarily money. Don't even put up an oath. Don't swear for a stranger. Don't. If you're not really sure of that person's intent, let them prove themselves first before you throw your backing behind them or backing into the pool. And that's all it's saying there. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. A gracious woman retaineth honor, and strong men retain riches. The merciful man doeth good to his own soul, but he that is cruel troubleth his own flesh. The wicked worketh a deceitful work, but to him that soweth righteousness shall be a sure reward. So going back to those leaderships, think about a merciful king. The more merciful you are, the more your people are going to love you. The more helpful you are, the more strong your kingdom is going to be, strong your government's going to be. But he that is cruel troubleth his own flesh. If you made your way to the top by doing nothing but making enemies, you have all the more enemies that are going to be coming for you once you're at the top. So a merciful man doeth good to his own soul, but he that is cruel troubleth his own flesh. As righteousness tendeth to life, so he that pursueth evil pursueth it to his own death. They that are forward heart are abomination to the Lord, but such as are the upright in their way are his delight. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. So even in churches, there are wicked and unrighteous people. At your job, wicked and unrighteous people. At anywhere you go, there's kind of a combination of both. So though they are hand in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished. You can't necessarily have good without evil. You can't have evil without good. Yet. It's not set up that way yet. So that's what kind of leads me to believe you have to stay in the Logos, and that's what God meant for it to be. Because if there is such thing as a logic and order, by its existence, you can go outside of it and create dislogic and disorder. As a jewel of gold in a swine's snout, so is a fair woman without discretion. So I'm going to say it. If you have something awesome as a girl, but everybody can see it or get it whenever they want, not so awesome anymore. Not so awesome anymore. Take that out however you will. The desire of the righteous is only good, but the expectation of the wicked is wrath. So they can expect wrath. We know it's coming. We read Revelations and all these places. There is that scattereth, and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. So think about seeds. Again, the magic of seeds. There is that scattereth, and yet increaseth. I can throw around a bunch of seeds. Next year, get all kinds of food and more seeds. More seeds than I got last year to do it all over again. And I got to eat all that year. There's that scattereth, and yet increaseth, such as seeds. And there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. So if I store up more corn and vegetables, squash and zucchini, especially in this case, then I can eat, it's just going to rot. And now I've ruined it for just me and everybody else. And when it starts rotting, it won't stop if you got it all together. So if you have things to give, it is better to give it than to just sit on it and let it rot. I guess is what he's saying. Don't weigh your pockets with all the gold to the point where you drown, so to speak. The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself. He that withholdeth corn, the people shall curse him, but blessing shall be upon the head of him that selleth it. So if you sell your corn seed to all these other people, then they got a whole field of corn. They can get their seed, they can get their seed, they can get their seed. Next year everybody will have more corn to the point where nobody has to worry about it anymore. Everybody can eat all this. But if I'm the only one with corn, I'm like, no, I'm the only person that's going to grow it, and I just grow my little plot of garden. Everybody's going to be hungry because I didn't grow enough to feed all these people, and I should have sold them corn seed to multiply and multiply. That's scattered. So you can see why that would upset a lot of people. Think about it spiritually too. Like if I have the word and I know a good way to help people prosper in the gospel, but I'm like, no, if you don't come to just this church, or if you don't tithe to my church, I'm not going to give it to you. Well, I might just stop them from going out and recruiting 10 or 15 other people to church, or somebody else from going from them to recruit 10 or 15 more. You don't hide it under a bushel. I guess that makes the most sense when you think about it like that. You put it on a hill and you let it shine. He that diligently seeketh good procureth favor, but he that seeketh mischief, it shall come unto him. You've heard it said before, don't go looking for trouble, because if you do, you'll find it every time. It's really easy to find. Promise. You want to get in a fight with somebody, you ain't 2 miles away from about 10 people just wanting the same thing you are. So, this is what's saying, don't do that. Because if you do seek mischief, you will find it. He that trusteth in his riches shall fall, but the righteous shall flourish as a branch. He that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind, and the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart. So this again is kind of saying, don't trust in your own riches. If you fill your pockets with so much gold, you can't cross any rivers and you'll drown. But he that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind. If you have a son, let's say you have a rich father, but the son is horrible, he steals all the time, goes around in and out of prison, you're going to inherit the wind. If I'm the father, I'm like, well, he's not trustworthy of this. I'm not leaving my estate to him. I'm going to leave it to somebody more so that I can trust and they can keep building off of it. And the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart. So then that son eventually becomes servant of that guy. Be horrible. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he that winneth souls is wise. That's like the main point, right? The main goal of all this. Behold, the righteous shall be recompensed in the earth, much more the wicked and the sinner. So, behold, the righteous shall be recompensed in the earth, much more the wicked and the sinner. So, just because you are serving God and you are doing righteousness on earth doesn't mean you're not going to be blessed. Doesn't mean you're not going to be rewarded for all that. Because so are the wicked and so are the sinners. They're going to get their reward also. But the fruit of righteousness is a tree of life, and he that winneth souls is wise. Where is the beginning of wisdom? Fear of the Lord. And if you try to win souls, maybe by making them afraid of the Lord, then that is wise. That is also where wisdom will come from. And that is Proverbs 11. I know it was really long. Thanks for sticking with me. But there's a lot of good stuff in Proverbs 11.
Yay.
Thank you.